be that it pertains to Parshat Ki Tavo, but it's something that is pertinent for life. So I want to read you the question that I got and try to read you something from Moshe David Valley on the Parsha. Are we supposed to find happiness in the small daily things we do in Judaism? Example, I don't usually have a hard time being tznius, but it doesn't make me happy. Occasionally I feel good about it, but not like some deep happiness. Same goes for most things. Like Shabbos doesn't make me feel happy, but once in a while I'll get that good feeling you get when you know that you're doing what you're meant to be doing. I know that I'm living the lifestyle that I want to, and I'm supposed to be living, and I guess that fact brings me comfort, but I don't know if it brings me happiness. What is happiness? Where do I find it? Where am I supposed to find it? Having a mild crisis, Rabbi Rosenstein. Please help. Thank you. Excuse me. So it's a very good question, a very important question, and I want to read to you something from Ravali on the Parsha. In the Tochacha that we just laid this past week in Parshat Ki Tavo, so a very famous pasuk, maybe one of the most famous psukim from the Tochacha, it says like this, Paper Chaf Ches, pasuk Mem Zayin, Tachas asher lo avadatas Hashem Elokecha b'simcha uvetuv levov merov kol. Because we didn't serve Hashem, because you didn't serve Hashem with simcha, with happiness, ubetuv levov, and with a good heart, merov kol, when we had everything. So many Mefarshim understand what this pasuk means. It's like, this is giving a reason for the Tochacha. Why do these things happen to Klal Yisrael? The Tochacha, again, is the rebuke, all sorts of curses and terrible things that can and have befallen Klal Yisrael if we don't follow the Torah. And it says, Tachas asher lo avadat Hashem Elokecha b'simcha b'tov levav. And many Sfarim say that this Tachas means, because since, as a result of our not having served Hashem with simcha, with happiness, that's why all these things happen. And you see from here the importance of doing avoda, of serving Hashem b'simcha. Now that's for sure true. It's for sure true. And like I said, there are many Mefarshim who learn the psukim this way. But I want to share with you how Ravali learns this, because he learns, as usual, a very interesting pshat. He says, first of all, the very next pasuk also deals with avoda, right? This pasuk says that we didn't serve Hashem. The next pasuk says, "Va'avadata es oivecha asher yishalchenu Hashem bach." We're going to serve our enemies that Hashem sends us there. Bira'av uvetzama uve'erum uvechoser kol. As opposed to Merov Kol that we had before, now we're going to be Bechoser Kol. It's going to be with hunger and with thirst and without anything. Excuse me. So Ravali says like this, he explains, and also another question, it says interesting, Ubetov Levav, right? It says Ubetov, we didn't serve Hashem Besimcha, Ubetov Levav. And we know that whenever the word Lev is spelt with two bases, Levav, and I've said this before because Ravali points this out almost every time that the word is used, it's always meant to include the Yetzer Hara. Like Chazal say, V'ahavtas Hashem l'checha, b'chol levavecha, with all of your hearts. What are the two bases? Your whole heart? With both of your Yitzrim, your Yetzer Tov and your Yetzer Hara. So he says, what does the Yetzer Hara have to do with it over here of serving Hashem Besimcha and happiness and these types of things? So he explains these psukim completely differently. He explains these psukim are not coming to tell us a curse that befalls us if we don't serve Hashem. What it's coming to tell us is that there are two modes of serving Hashem. There are two ways that a person can be when they serve Hashem. And it's one instead of the other. It's one or the other. Not one causes the other. There's two ways of being. There's one way of being, of serving Hashem with simcha, with tov levav, which we'll explain in a second. Yes, serving Hashem with a deep sense of satisfaction, with a geshmak, with a happiness, where I feel, lifted by what I'm doing, I feel inspired by what I'm doing, and I feel it's the right thing genuinely, and I have a real simcha. But then there's also a type of avodas Hashem that we do where we don't feel it at all, where we feel like we're doing things, and what's the meaning of it, and I'm doing this mitzvah, if I didn't do it, would it really make a difference? I did it, I didn't do it, I don't feel anything, nothing changed, nothing, I don't really have any sense of that. And he says both of these forms of avoda are necessary. It doesn't work that a person is always serving Hashem from a place of an elevated place, from a place of inspiration and pneumius and with a real internal feeling. That's not the only way to serve Hashem. A person also has to serve Hashem without a sense of purpose, without a sense of meaning in the same way. And he explains as follows: Klal Yisrael and Golos. Let's take a step back. Klal Yisrael, when we're supposed to be, when the Beis Hamikdash is here, and we're bringing karbanos, and we're doing the avoda the way that we're supposed to be doing, so our avoda draws shefa from Hashem. It draws a response from Hashem that brings plenty into the world. It brings simcha into the world. It brings light into the world. It brings goodness into the world. Right? All of these things are brought into the world by our avoda. So when the Beis HaMikdash is in place and the whole system is running the way it's supposed to be working, so that shefa comes straight down to Yerushalayim first, to the Beis HaMikdash, and from the Beis HaMikdash it spreads out to Yerushalayim, from Yerushalayim it spreads out to Eretz Yisrael, and then to the rest of the world. And that's the way things are supposed to be running, when all the ma'arachot, all the orders are in the way that they're supposed to be. But in Galus it doesn't work that way. In Galus we do our avoda, and the shefa comes down, but it doesn't come to us. The shefa comes to our enemies. The shefa goes to all the other nations. The shefa goes to our oppressors, and we're only left getting a little bit of it. We're only left getting just enough that we need to survive. This is an idea that is found in Kabbalistic literature and in Sfarim, in many different places. This idea that in Galus it's two things, that even in Galus Hashem will never cut us off completely. Chas v'shalom. He'll constantly be connected to us and giving to us, but He'll only be giving us what we need to be surviving. He's not giving us b'shefa. He's not giving us in a big way like we get when we have the Beis HaMikdash. Now this is true on a national level, and this is true on a personal level also. There are times in a person's life that a person does avoda, and that avoda opens the person up and creates the person, as a kli, makes the person a receptacle for Hashem's light to come down, and a person feels it, and a person experiences it, and it lifts a person up. But there are times that doesn't happen. There are times that a person does the avoda, they do the mitzvah exactly the way they're supposed to be doing it, with all the things 100%, the checklist, all perfect, but they don't get the shefa. The shefa comes down, of course, but it goes out to the enemies, it goes out to other forces, it goes out to other places, spiritual enemies in the world, and we only get from our mitzvos and our tfilos, but we only get a tiny bit, we only get enough to survive, not that Hashem would cut us off completely. And a person has to go through these types of matzavim, both of these types of states in their avoda. And I want to read you what he says here. He writes, so this is from Moshe David Valley now, and he writes like this: is a very big klal, a very big rule. The tav le barnash, the yinda tav, the yinda bish, v'yahader garme letav. It's a critical part of a person, of what we're here to do, is to experience good and to experience bad, and to turn that bad into good. In other words, we're not supposed to always be on a high. We're not supposed to always be doing well and just be coasting and be into things and be doing great and be inspired. It's not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to have that experience, which we have if we try and we work at it. We have that sometimes. And we're supposed to have the experience of working and not feeling anything and not like we're getting anything out of it and I'm just forcing myself to do it because that's what I need to do. We're supposed to have avoda from both of these types of places. And he says that's what these psukim are telling us. There's one way of serving Hashem with simcha and betov levav, and tachas, instead of that, asher lo, when it's not a situation of that, then it's a situation of yavadatas oivecha. Then we're working, and we're not working for ourselves. We're doing our avoda, we're doing our mitzvos, but the shefa is going out to our enemies. It's going elsewhere. Yavadatas oivecha asher yishachenu Hashem b'ach b'rav uvetzama. We're going to be starving and thirsting, uve'erum uvechoser kol, because we're going to be lacking. We're not going to be receiving the spiritual infusion from our own mitzvos. It's going to be diverted elsewhere, with us only getting a tiny bit of it until we come back. But his point is, which he continues to discuss over here, the point of this is for a person to know both sides, for a person to experience both sides, and work to bring the simcha into his avoda, work to bring himself to that level. Now that doesn't mean that a person is always able to. Again, a person could be in a state where they are low, where a person is in a down state, in a rut, where they're doing the things and they don't feel like they're getting anything out of it, and they're striving to go back to that place of goodness. They're striving to go back there. And he says that's how we understand now betov levav. He says, this is why he's including the Yetzer Hara here. Why? To include also the Yetzer Hara. Because it's the Yetzer Hara that makes a person first feel tsar from the avoda, right? It's not our Yetzer Tov. When a person is doing mitzvos and a person is keeping Shabbos and doing these things and they're not enjoying it, it's the Yetzer Hara that's getting in the way. It's the Yetzer Hara that's making me not happy. That's making me not feel connected to this thing. So in the beginning, that's his job. His job is to make the avoda hard for us. But afterwards, once we get past that stage, once we get to the next stage where we're up, where we're high, and we're doing well, so the Yetzer Hara himself is involved in that simcha. Because if a person is just in a good place, if a person just is inspired without any work, without having to go through anything difficult, a person just, wow, they're inspired, they're in a good place, that's not true simcha. That's not true simcha. True simcha only comes b'tov levov, when the Yetzer Hara is involved in the simcha also. When that simcha comes after I've gone through the pain of dealing with the Yetzer Hara, so now that's a shalim dik simcha. That's a simcha, like he says, Tavinish, the yinda tav, yinda bish, v'yahadar garmi latav. That's a simcha of having dealt with the Yetzer Hara, dealt with the difficulty of doing avoda in a very external way, in a very shallow, feels like a shallow way. But when I get past that, and now I can do my avoda, from a good place, and now with my Yetzer Hara also, and that's what creates the full simcha. And then we fall again, and it's a cycle. We go up and down, we go up and down. There's no such thing as a person constantly working and constantly putting in effort and constantly trying, who does not see the spiritual fruits of that effort from time to time. Again, we can't live constantly on a high, and we can't necessarily even live most of the time on a high. Why is it that Hashem has some people that are high more, and there's some people that are low more, and why me? And that's all Hashem's cheshbonos. But the idea is that He needs both of these types of avoda, both that pnimius, both that internal, where I'm connected and I'm feeling it, and that's one type of avoda. But there's a whole other type of avoda, which is the avoda of working only from a chitzonius way, working only from a way where Hashem wants me to do this avoda, even though I'm not experiencing any simcha, even though I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. That's no less valuable. That's no less important. It's no less critical for my whole cycle, my spiritual cycle of life. I just wanted to mention this quickly. I hope I'll have time to continue and upload some more shiurim, hopefully before Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, something about Elul and Tshuva. So much this week's Parsha, Nitzavim, is the Parsha of Tshuva. We'll see, maybe we'll get something in. Okay, everybody, I hope you're well. Please be in touch. Bye-bye.